Hello there. In this video we're going to show you how to make the 4-prong square gem ring setting using the twin split ring as is shown in the image on the screen there. So if we start Fluid Designer up, in the rings folder, this is the split ring that we're going to use, which you've seen before. But before we use that, let me just go to File and New there, and I'll just click Group Libraries. And we're also going to use this thing here, this Gem Settings 4-prong. And we're going to make use of a square gem in this case. So we're actually going to use some of the objects that are in this file here. Now, I'm not going to import the gem from here, but I'm going to import this object here, which is the 4-prong ring. In other words, it's a ring around the gem. And I'm going to make use of these 4-prong claws. Now, there are inner claws and outer claws. We're probably going to get away with just using one in this example. Now, I'm not going to actually use this ring at all. As I say, I'm going to use the split ring. So we're going to we're going to append those objects from Gem Settings 4-prongs. So if we just go to File and New again. So first of all, let's open the split ring, which gives us that, and I'll just switch on the screencast keys. Now, first thing I'm going to do is to append a gem. So we just go up until we get to the Groups folder. And we're going to use a gem shape, and we're going to use a square gem, and as usual it's the object, so we're going to append the square gem object, and I'm just going to highlight it. Now I'm going to press S on the keyboard and 0.6 to scale it down, because the default size is 10mm, so I've scaled it down to 6mm, and then I'll just position the gem there. Okay. So we've got this split ring. What we need to do now is to open it up a bit and adjust it. So first of all, we'll go to View and Back View, which will give me that view of it. So what I need to do is the shank, this top part of the shank I need to move up, the bottom down, top up, bottom down. So it's in the Z direction that I've got to adjust it. So if I press the Tab key on the keyboard, and I need to press A to deselect all those control points, and I'll just select the last 3 control points there, and it's the Z direction I want to move it, so I'll move it 1, let me move it 2mm so it's in line with the side of the gem. Not sure whether that will be quite right, but we'll do that for the moment. So A to deselect that. We do the same for the other 4 ends of the shank, so we move that down 1, 2 down, A to deselect, and we'll do the same at the other end. So it's border select, 3 control points, up 1, 2, A to deselect, border control, select 3 control points, 1, 2 down, A to deselect. Now let's just see what that looks like. Okay, so that's adjusted the ends of the shank. Now we might have to shorten them, but we'll look at that in a minute. Now, what I'm going to do now is to append the prongs. So if we go to File and Append, and go up through the menu system until we get to Groups. So Gem Settings 4-prong. Now we've got a round gem. Now I know ours is not 10mm, but we'll just have to make some modifications to these objects. So we want Object, and we want the prong claws, inner and outer, and the 4-prong. Oh, I've gone into round for some reason there. 10mm round. I've gone into the wrong one. Let me do that again. File and Append. Gem Settings 4-prong. Yeah, I don't want the round one, I want the 4-prong square. So it's object, and it's the 4-prong claws, inner and outer, and the 4-prong ring. And it does say square out there, but that's actually the gem itself. I don't want the gem. I just want those 3 objects. So I pen those from the library. And now the default size for this is 10 millimeters. Now it does say 11 millimeters over here, but that includes the thickness of the ring, the square ring in this case. So we need to scale this down. Now we scaled the gem down to 6 millimeters, so we do the same with this. So it's S on the keyboard, 0.6, enter. Now because this object is in fact a curve, we must apply that. So do Control A and apply the scale, and you'll see the thickness come back. Now if I just view that from the front, view it from the top, you can see it's positioned a bit too high at the moment, so I need to lower that down. Okay, so that should be okay, so the gem will just fit into the top of that. Now what I want to do is these prongs here. I need to reposition them. Now there's 2 sets of prongs here. There's the inner one, and the outer one. Now I'm not going to need both of these in this instance. So I'm going to, with the outer one highlighted, I'll just press X and just delete that. And then if we just highlight the inner one. Now this is the back view here. So if we go to View and Back View, you'll see that these prongs are at 45 degrees to the corner of this square gem mounting. So if I press the Tab key to go into edit mode, this object up here is actually mirrored to give the other images, so it's this one here that I need to move. And if I just press A on the keyboard, you'll see that the object highlights up. So I've highlighted essentially the control points on that. So if I just go to View and Back again, and what I want to do is to reposition this now in the corner there. Now clearly I don't want to overlap with the gem, so I need to move it out a little bit. Now if I move it out with the mouse, it moves out too far. So what I need to do is to use the transform panel over here, and if I just do, I'm going the wrong way there, so I need to go the other way. I need to go 3.5, yep, so I'll go, let me try 3.5 first of all. And I'll just adjust the Z to 3.5. That's not quite enough, it's still overlapping. That's better. So just adjusting X and Z there repositions that control point. So it's touching the corner of this object, and it's touching the ring shaft at the bottom, but it's not quite fitting exactly in there, so we need to reposition that. Okay, so that's not too bad at the moment. So what could we do? Well, we could move these out a little bit rather than adjust the prongs themselves. So if we press A to deselect those control points and Tab key to come out of that, if we click the ring itself again and go to View and Back View, what we could do is to move these parts of the shaft outwards a little bit. So if we press the Tab key, if we do, well, I've just done C to select those 3 control points, and if we select the 3 control points on the other side as well there, and this is the Z direction, so I want to go up 1, 2, 3. I'll go up 0.5 millimeter, and then we'll go back and have a look what that looks like. But we need to do the same on the other side. So A to deselect, C to select those 3 control points, select those 3 control points and escape. And these ones we need to move down now, so it's minus 0.5 millimeter, so minus 3.5 millimeters in the transform panel there, and A to deselect them. And then if we press the Tab key on the keyboard to return to the gem itself, we can see that, yeah, we're in a much better position there. Now we could shorten these bits, we could take those off, so we could delete the last control point. So I'm going to do that first of all. So view and back view and tab key. So I'm just going to delete X to delete the last control point, and we'll see what that looks like once we've deleted them. Okay, so tab to come out of edit mode. Yeah, that looks a bit tidier now. All we need to do really is to just position the bottom of these claws, just reposition it very slightly. It's actually in those, it is in there. It's not too bad there. This one seems to be out very, very slightly. Let's see, perhaps we'll open them up to 3.6. So if we click on the ring itself, go to view and back, I'm just going to move these out slightly. So C to circle select, we'll do the other end at the same time, and it was 3.5, so let's change that to 3.7. And we'll do the other side as well, and so this is going to be minus 3.7, so we needed to move it down, which I've done. So now my prong should be fitting quite nicely in the end of the ring shank there. Now there are other ways of doing that. We could have moved the bottom of the shank and tilted it slightly, but I'm going to keep it vertical. Okay, so there's our square gem with a split ring and some claws which will go over the gem, and then will need to be grinded back when you actually fit the gem itself. Okay, so before we export this as an OBJ file, we need to highlight the gem and delete it, so X on the keyboard to delete it. Now it'd be a good idea to change these objects into meshes. Convert to a mesh. Convert the shank itself to a mesh. So if we then highlight that ring and highlight the claws and just join them, and then hold down the shift key and highlight the shank and join them, we should have just the one object there now, which we have. So there's our ring with a square mounting and 4 claws. So rather than save it, we always go to File and Export. Export it as a wavefront object to the desktop. So it's our twin ring, square gem and 4 claws. We could say 6mm gem. Okay, so we export that to the desktop, and as is normal, you'd have to take that object, that file, to Netfabb Basic. Just run it through Netfabb Basic to make any minor repairs to the object, which Netfabb will do, and then you've got that is basically your 3D printable file. So I'll just let that save, confirm that it does, and then that's essentially the end of this video. Thank you.